The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Rattle around and make some sense, huh?
Mm-hmm. Nothing makes sense.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Wednesday, April 23rd, you guys. And today is National Administrative Professionals Day.
You're such a professional, Jason.
Yes. It's also National Lost Dog Awareness Day. Shout out to Pound Puppies. You're going to love this one, Rico. It's National Cherry Cheesecake Day.
I'm not really a fan of cheesecake. You know what I'm saying? I'm lactose intolerant.
I know. That's why I said it. That's exactly why I said it.
I know. I like cheesecake.
Big shout out to cheesecake, though. I remember the good old days.
This one's for Jenny, wherever she is. It's National Take a Chance Day.
Just like voting for Trump. Right?
Stop it! That wasn't a chance. That was 100% intentional.
Take a chance. It'll be better this time.
Jenny Beth,
take a chance. Did we really not get through the intro?
It's National Take a Chance Day.
Jenny
Beth,
join us. So why don't you just add to it? Don't subtract. Come on, take a chance.
Take a chance. It's also. This is probably one of Rico's favorite days of the year. National Talk Like Shakespeare Day.
Yeah, I am, therefore you ain't.
Yes, and thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet, and we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And we are starting this baby off with the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, the man who's all in black, like he's on the attack. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Oh, thank you, Jason. And if you're all in black, doesn't mean you're on the attack, but whatever. A wee bit of hope was given yesterday to California cannabis operators with the passage of AB 564, by a California Assembly Committee. The Cal NORML sponsored bill aims to prevent a planned increase in the state cannabis excise tax from 15 to 19%, which is scheduled for July 1st. Introduced by Assemblymember Matt Haney out of San Francisco, the bill received broad support from industry groups, labor unions, small businesses, and social justice advocates, though Assemblymember Jasmeet Baines abstained. Supporters argue that raising taxes would hurt legal cannabis businesses and consumers, driving more activity to the unlicensed market while doing little to actually raise revenue. Critics, including youth program beneficiaries of cannabis tax funds, opposed the bill over concerns about reduced funding. Haney stated AB 564 does not cut taxes, only freezes them, and emphasizes the need for balance, protecting legal businesses while maintaining social program funding. Per the Red-Headed Black Belt's reporting, before the vote was called, committee chair Mark Berman said this: as the state struggles with budget challenges and the Trump administration slashes funding for critical programs. I hear the voices of those concerned about further loss of revenue to those programs, and I'm sure I speak for myself and my colleagues when I say that we're committed to making sure that our communities have the resources that they need while doing what's necessary to ensure that a cannabis industry still exists to tax in the first place, end quote. The bill now heads to Assembly Revenue and Taxation Committee, where further opposition is expected, given California's tight budget constraints. Yet another microdose of hope given to an industry in need of a hero. We'll see how this plays out. Cal NORML urges continued public pressure on lawmakers. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on street for High 9 News.
Man,
more of that hopey changey stuff.
Yeah, more of that hopey changey stuff. All that stuff that makes people feel good inside. All those little fluffer nutters and all that fun stuff. Rico.
So you'd love it. I have a shirt that says that, but it was a George W. Bush when it said, "Miss me, how's all that hopey changey stuff?" You would love that shirt.
I would probably wear that.
It wouldn't fit. It's a small. It's an extra small.
You'd be surprised what I could fit in now.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Chill.
Jason's a size 0.
And let all the farts out.
It's the midriff, right? It's trending.
Oh no! I'm not doing none of that. None of that weirdo stuff. None of that weirdo stuff. Anything that makes a dude look feminine, I'm not with, Shaun.
I heard Jason. I heard Jason has a sun tattoo around his navel.
Definitely not.
Oh
I actually have no tattoos at all whatsoever, because I come from like the real generation of when law enforcement would basically use those as markings, like people tag animals. So no.
Well, getting back to the story, problem we have here in California, the opposition are these groups that have their hands out waiting for money while they suck the cannabis industry dry. And it's hard to watch that because alcohol, beer and wine's taxed at 1% excise tax. I cost alcohol, just Scotch is what I like. It's 3%, and we're at 15%. And it's going to be a victory to not go to 19%. They've sucked this cash cow just about dry, and these groups with their hands out will continue to oppose this until the industry dies, because they don't want to give their money. And you can't say they're greedy. That's just the little kid groups. You can't say that. But compared to cannabis, they don't give two shits about cannabis. They just want the flow of cash. It's very difficult to watch.
I don't want to be this voice right now.
Oh boy.
I'm waking up in Texas a little bit like, what's really going on? And what happens next then? Because it's like they've gaslit to a point where, you're shit out of luck out there. And I know that, I frequently argue we're at the beginning over here, but also we're still subject to all the bullshit that goes on with politics and the judiciary. And, we've talked about this a couple of times. So worst case scenario, because I like to plan for the worst case, looking at industry forecasts. What happens next? Like, if the California industry really cannot bounce back without the interstate commerce, and we're going to continue to set this precedent where we're looking at other state models to build and destroy the industry it's like we're set up to fail from the jump, then what do we really need to acknowledge as operators as the path forward? Is it going to be smaller ops? Is it going to be being absorbed into alcohol and tobacco and pharma, even though we're resisting that as much as possible right now? Like, I'm actually wanting to understand, what does everybody think about what's next then? Because we've been doing this for so long and we're just seeing it fall like dominoes state by state.
I'll tell you right now, it's going to be long live the trap, Shaun. It's all going to go back to pagers. It's all going to go back to pagers and pagers direct to consumer on the internet, all of that.
Yeah, see how that worked out with Israel.
I knew you were going to make an Israel joke, Rico. I knew it as soon as I said pagers. I knew I saw that one coming.
Wow, Rico. That was, wow.
What? This is the world we live in today. Don't give me no wow. It is what it is. Yeah. It is what it is.
Rico is right about that.
The reality is they don't give a shit whether we fail or not. They give a shit if we give them tax money and give them revenue. And at the point where we no longer are able to pay those taxes, They do not give a shit if you lose your house, your car, and your firstborn child. And
That part's
is the
true.
fucking reality. No one is coming to save you.
Mm-hmm.
No one is coming to fucking save us. Build a life raft and hope that motherfucker does not have a hole in it, because the rising tide does not rise all boats. That dinghy at the end of the fucking dock with holes in it is going down. And that is kind of just the harsh reality of what's going to happen.
I totally agree with that
assessment. What you're saying is trickle-down economics are not real.
No,
right?
that's not. No, trickle-down economics are real. It's just not trickling in cannabis because it's overtaxed and overregulated.
The data says otherwise, Jason.
And oversaturated. So
It's oversaturated.
So
She's spot on. Like we all were like, cannabis is the next big thing. Everybody jumped in, and then it's just like a normal market. Any normal market that's oversaturated, you're going to have a decline over time and a plateau, and we're going to get to that as we get to normalization. But before we're even getting to mass normalization and consumption, because we found healthy, better ways to consume the plant besides being an intoxicant, and that includes THC. Like I could smoke all day and very rarely be high, but there are a lot of health benefits and there's a larger market for that. I'm worried that we're all going to get phased out before all of that. And like, what's the strategy next? Because I don't know if going through the legislature and the judiciary is working. And I hear you on the trap market being
the outlaw market. The outlaw market is the only alternative. You know what I'm saying? Home grow your own. And shout out to the suitors that just sent in a big old super chat who says, my high at 9 Speedo finally arrived. Bonus, the drawstring is made from a pissy rope. Signed by Dale.
Yes, did you get the mesh? Did you get the mesh? Is a special edition mesh version?
Yeah, it's got Rico's face on your left buttock.
Oh, easy there.
Oh, I thought you'd go for the thong.
Jeez.
Easy there.
Shout out to Cisco and more tattoos on the navel.
Yeah.
Go get one, Rico. I'll pay for it.
Look hard enough online, you might find one. Hey,
whoa, easy there. All right, fair enough. We're gonna
keep my man here secured.
We're gonna keep this train rolling right on into our first commercial, and I guess apparently the moral of the story is on this one is long live the trap and long live direct to consumer, because the internet is going to be the ultimate trap.
But oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where am I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Network. There we go, bitches. Got your bitch ass now.
Look up.
We are back, you guys. We are back. Big things going on today, man. Oh man. Markets are going crazy. Rico, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jason. How's it feel being the highest Republican in every room you walk into, and smoking the best weed in the world?
It feels amazing, bro. Fantastic.
How's it feel knowing that you wrote the script for Pete Hegseth to go live yesterday? It went great.
That's what I like to hear. I'm here for that. Shout out to Pete Hegseth. He's my guy. You know what I'm saying? We the people.
Up next, here to blame everything on everybody else is Jason Beck.
Yes. Good morning, you guys. Good morning. I have a fascinating story for you guys because Indiana lawmakers may regulate this THC product. Todd Rokita fears a parallel cannabis market, he says. Even industry leaders in the cannabis world are asking for regulation on low THC products that have flooded corner stores in the last several days. Products like Delta 8 and Delta 10, which are not traditional marijuana, but low concentration derivatives from a different cannabis plant called hemp. It's not a different cannabis plant, you guys. It's the same thing. After about 5 years of debate, Indiana lawmakers are getting ready to send a bill to Governor Mike Braun that could do just that. The largest opponent, however, is their attorney general, who contends that some of these products are merely cheat codes for mimicking the effects of regular marijuana. They're trying to say it's up, up, down, down, left, right, select, start. Rico, you believe that? For weed. In a letter to the legislative leadership at Braun on Tuesday, Attorney General Todd Rokita called Senate Bill 478 a Trojan horse for legalizing intoxicating THC products. The glaring vagueness of this bill threatens public safety and undermines our state's laws by creating enough loopholes for high-potency intoxicating THC products to be sold under the guise of craft hemp regulation. He said in a statement to Indy Star, in a quote, "By permitting the sale of these products, SB 478 intentionally creates a huge drug loophole or parallel cannabis market that operates outside Indiana's marijuana laws, which remain in place at both state and federal levels," he says. Lawmakers and prosecutors who support the bill, however, contend that it doesn't settle the question of whether these products are actually legal. It merely adds rules and regulations to a marketplace that already exists and is running rampant. In a quote, "This is not marijuana," said Senator Travis Holdman, the author of multiple such bills over the years, said in an early committee hearing. It is low THC, 0.3% or lower. We get all tied up in the discussion over marijuana, so we do nothing, so the problem continues. In a quote, "We can bury our head in the sand one more year, but I ask you, please do not do that," the Markle Republican said. A legal gray area has persisted on these past products since the 2018 Farm Bill legalized hemp federally, and hemp or hemp-derived products must contain 0.3% or less Delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, or THC, the psychoactive compound that creates the high for marijuana to be legal. The marijuana plant, which remains illegal federally and in Indiana as a Schedule I drug, can have concentrations of THC as high as 10 to 20%, you guys. Indiana also legalized hemp in 2018 for industrial purposes, categorizing it as a legal agricultural product distinct from marijuana, and hemp can be used to make seed oils and fibers, opening up a market for farmers. But neither the Farm Bill nor Indiana's copycat law specifically mentioned cannabinoid variations, Delta-8 and Delta-10, since these are hemp-derived products. Their sale nationwide has been seen as a legal loophole, and neither the Food and Drug Administration nor Congress have followed up with regulations on these products. There is nothing to prevent a corner store from selling gummies with, say, 250 milligrams or even 1,000 milligrams of Delta-8, which for many people could be very intoxicating. Nor is there anything to prevent children from buying them. School districts across the state are spending money on tools like THC and vape detectors. Stop it. To try to get a handle on this, said Chris Laconi, executive director of the Indiana Small and Rural Schools Association. It's easier for minors to get access to these gummies than to alcohol, he said. What does a gummy detector look like? I can't wait to see what that one looks like. Senate Bill 478 in its current would establish the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission as a regulatory body over these products, prohibit their sale to people under 21 years of age, and set dosage limits of 100 milligrams per serving and 3,000 milligrams per package. Up to 20,000 retailers could apply for a permit to sell them on a first-come, first-served basis. And it's now being negotiated in a conference committee. The legislative session is anticipated to wrap up this week. And Rokita's letter Tuesday follows up on a similar letter he sent last week to Indiana General Assembly members just before the House approved the bill 60-37. In 2023, he published an official opinion that hemp derivatives like Delta-8 and Delta-10 are illegal, and though his opinion is not legally binding, the lack of clarity has stalled the hemp industry, said Justin Swanson, a lobbyist and president of the Midwest Hemp Council. In a quote, he says, "I feel like we could have taken care of this years ago instead of the chaos we've had," he told the Indy Star. "The status quo is unacceptable for everybody," he says. Rokita is now asking lawmakers to either ban all synthetically produced cannabis cannabinoids, or at least reduce the 100 milligram potency cap to 2.5 milligrams. And industry leaders and some lawmakers argue, though, that there is a wide range of tolerances various people can have to these products, and it's not unusual, Swanson said, for elderly veterans who've built up a tolerance to take a couple 100 milligrams of Delta 8 a day to ease their PTSD symptoms and not feel intoxicated. One of the fastest growing user bases is the over 50 crowd, said Justin Journally, founder of Three Chai, a cannabinoid producer in central Indiana, and he moved his company here from Ohio after Indiana legalized hemp in 2018 and set in place testing requirements as soon as he started talking to lawmakers around setting some rules in place for the broader array of hemp derivatives. He said he wants regulation because having some bad apples in the space only damages the industry's reputation. And in a quote, "There was a big learning curve to even understand what I was talking about," Journey said. Journey himself, a biochemist by training, said he avoided trying hemp products for a long time because of his negative perceived notions about them, but he tried CBD oil to treat a shoulder injury, and he said it was life-changing, you guys. He's found lawmakers and even Braun open to learning about the industry, even as it remains a divisive subject with the supermajority party, and in a quote says, "If you don't use cannabis," Journey said, "it's a lot easier to fall back into reefer madness propaganda." Well, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Indiana, it sounds like some change is coming, but some of it doesn't sound unreasonable. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Jason, I'm surprised you're not big on Attorney General Todd Rokita's backing here. He's a big MAGA guy.
Yeah. Shout out to MAGA. All day, every day. Yeah.
Shout out to Todd Rokita, right? And his stance on all this. He's a Trojan horse.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like Indiana, Tennessee, and yes, Texas we're all following a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough because, even within the industry, we argued about this a lot, and not everybody understood how different operators were approaching hemp. Some, like the one in this article, were approaching it from a really savvy background with a lot of knowledge, experience in biochemistry, and producing really high quality products, and they were recognizing that going through hemp versus going through THC exclusively was a way to safely operate cheaper business. You're not paying like the unspoken green tax of being a cannabis operator. So there were a lot of benefits to being a cannabis operator. There were a lot of operators who were THC operators who flipped into hemp, not nefariously, but just seeing like the different legal language that they could approach with and the ease with which they could build sustainable businesses. That is confused often with these other people who are, creating like K2 products or doing things that are not good, selling to kids. And the problem is, the more we can't figure this out within the industry, then how can we be shepherds for our legislators who are already trying, by the way, they already have other interests. So we're fighting against so much and then fighting each other. And while on the surface, some of this sounds like they might consider possibility for change, I am not so sure that's going to happen. I think these states follow the pattern of the most restrictive states. They're all talking to each other,
They are.
I mean, we're closing loopholes, Jason. I'm not a fan of synthetic cannabinoids, period. There is a natural plant that fucking grows like that. And I think that God knows better than any biochemical engineer when he gave us this plant that works synergistically with itself and within our endocannabinoid system.
I would agree with you on that part, Jenny.
The only real answer is, in the words of Troy Lawrence, open the fucking market.
Well, and they're not.
Because this is just a loophole. This is not like something that people got into because they're like, no, how do we get around this? And that loophole has existed for a very long time since people realized that you could convert. So it's not like we're not doing some big big shit deal to try and like, oh, well, this is actually a better business move. It's your only fucking option, and it's not a great option, and it's not a great option for consumers. So what really needs to be pushed is, okay, if you want these substances that maybe aren't safe for human consumption, that we don't totally fully fucking understand, then let's talk about meaningful cannabis regulation so that we can actually sell cannabis instead of something that some guy converted in his lab.
Very fair.
Yeah, and to your point, Jenny, they're also mixing up the synthetics with alternatives that are naturally occurring. So now they're all lumped in with as hemp. Like you've got things like THCV or THCA, I understand, lumped in with K2 spice, all that, the stuff from the 90s and the early 2000s that they were freaking out about. Like they're lumping them in.
K2 is crazy. All right, K2, the spice, all that shit. That shit is crazy. That the people even smoke that shit is crazy.
They're literally labeled as incense.
Yeah.
We're not referring to K2 and spice. We're referring to this alternative cannabinoid market that's hemp-based converted cannabinoids. And I wish Mark Chaldon was here to do that thing he does and slap his fucking blue book on everyone's foreheads until they understand that what is being produced and sold in these fucking products is not naturally occurring in the plant. It is a conversion process.
Yes, that they all are conversions. That part is true. Delta 8 and Delta 10 are all conversions. They do not naturally occur in the plant. I don't care what people want to say about whatnot, and people just show me their ignorance in regards with the plant when they say that those things are naturally occurring. I totally agree with you.
It is kind of like when you try to explain tariffs.
Tariffs are fantastic, bro. I'm a big fan of tariffs.
Did you ever look up Smoot Hawley there, Jason?
Who?
Smoot Hawley.
You have to.
You're going to do that a couple of weeks back.
You did. You got to text me that stuff, Dale. So then that way.
Okay. Jason's more of a fan of Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
Shout out to Richie Valens.
Let me just say this. At 50-something years ago, when I was an undergrad, we were taught that if 8% of your population is not going to abide by a prohibition, you can't enforce it. And these legislators don't get their head out of their ass and just pay attention to that. The market for cannabis products is huge.
Yes.
Right? We're fighting over whether there's a synthetic here you can buy at the local ARCO station, or whether you have a licensed place you can go to. We have no idea what the market is because vast majority is off the books. And these legislators want to keep talking about, well, let's make one thing illegal or something else illegal. You can't enforce the shit right now. They don't want to take a step back and say, let's find some new approach to this. How about we green light it and treat it like alcohol, control it away from kids, make sure that the products that are out there are tested and come from the plant, not a laboratory, okay? And let this thing go. But oh my God, that just doesn't seem to be able to compute for these legislators. And it's just very hard to watch because it's insanity. They keep doing the same shit over again, expecting a different result. It's not going to happen. I used to sell weed in my youth, and I had no shortage of people wanting to buy weed. Okay. If you got a pound of weed, you can find people that'll take it from you. And that's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't have a legal store where you are, you can get it. Okay. Trust me, you can get it. And the legislators don't understand. You're not getting any bit of that. Right now, in California, alcohol, wine, and beer is 1% excise tax. And they're making billions of dollars a year in taxes because everybody goes to a local store. Okay? Right now, they're arguing about going from 15 to 19%. 15% is not sustainable. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Okay? If you want to capture the market, green light it, get the local jurisdictions out of the way, capture a small excise tax, and get everybody going through the legal market, okay? And then the tax revenue will be off the charts.
Yep.
No, they don't want to. Let's just continue to tell people you can't use this. Well, they're telling you, yeah, fuck yourself. We're going to use it anyway, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
What do you do with that? And the insanity just continues. They just wrap it in a different package here, and it's just crazy.
I totally agree with you, Dale. You're right on that.
You're my favorite.
Yeah. They just, you know what I'm saying? They throw lipstick on a pig and just slap it in and just call it bacon.
I hear it squealing, though.
Hey, it works for me, you know?
If they know on some level, being experts that they are, that it's unenforceable and they've had other laws that have been unenforceable, then you have to ask the bigger question is, who's it meant to be enforced upon? or in
I
what
don't-
situations will it be enforced?
Well, see, I believe it's kind of operates in the sense of planned obsolescence, because it gives them reasons to do other things and to make these things reoccurring problems and reoccurring issues. So then that way there's never a solution, because it's just like medical care. If there was a cure, none of these companies would be in business anymore, because it's not the point. That's why it's health care. All right, and not health solving or anything else like that, is because there's no money in a cure.
Well, that's a tad naive, because not everything we know how to cure it yet.
That's fair enough.
Have set up a system where they patent stuff because they change a little piece of the molecule, and they get insurance. That's how they make their reports. If you had to rely on people going there and paying for shit out of their pocket, they would go broke, because no one would buy this shit they're advertising on TV. They want the generic, and the cheapest generic they can get.
Yep.
So the insanity continues, because there's a lot of money being made by government right now and by the black market. Nobody seems to want to give up their cash cow, even though the cash cow is dying as we're talking. It's just insane.
I'm with you guys. I'm with you guys on this. Well, anyone else have anything else to say on this? Indiana? All right, fair enough. We're going to roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. Dale has been an attorney at law since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he has specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He's blunt. He doesn't smoke them because they're ratchet and make your breath stink, and he's honest and unconcerned with public opinions, and especially yours. And he will show you how to piss up a rope and defy gravity. That's right. It is your favorite Tio Loco, and you can now find him at his own law office, at the law office of Dale Schafer. It is attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer.
Good morning, everybody. One of the things I don't throw on my resume is I was a Navy corpsman during the Vietnam War, and I saw some crazy shit. So some of my experience goes back to how do people act when they're stressed? Yeah, it's nuts. Okay, my story today is just a continuation of discussion between rescheduling and descheduling. This comes out of MJ Biz Daily from the 22nd. And the headline is Rescheduling or Descheduling Marijuana. How would industry be impacted? Now, and I took a look at this, and I just started to chuckle a bit, because there's some people in there. Avis Babulian is one of them from here in California that threw his 2 cents in. First of all, let me just state, Trump administration is not going to reschedule. They're going to allow the DEA to drag their feet, not do this and not do that, and it's just not going to happen, because there really is no money in it. It doesn't solve anything. It really tanks the industry as we know it, because, as pointed out in this article, insurance and patents are what drives the pharmaceutical industry. If you make it a Schedule 3, they're going to take over it. And we're talking about Delta 8. We're going to be talking about Delta 9 with a little asterisk by it that's owned by, I don't know, pick one, Bayer, pick a pharmaceutical company. And that they're going to advertise it on TV. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread. We own it. Come in and get it, and insurance will pay for it. The industry's not going to be able to survive that, because it won't be the industry we know right now. It'll be a pharmaceutical-driven industry, and that's just crazy and stupid. I would advocate, don't do that. And when you get to descheduling, what they're talking about is that local governments and state governments know they have a piggy bank, they call it, because they're getting tax revenue. They don't want to give up their piggy bank. And they are literally willing to kill goose that's laying the golden egg to keep their piggy bank full. It's really difficult to continue to watch this and talk about it, and people they don't seem to get it. Okay? And the other thing that they don't want to look down the road to where we don't have these current problems where we're talking about descheduling, rescheduling, all that kind of nonsense. We're at a point where we treat it more like alcohol, and there will be areas of the country that are production areas. Like Kentucky makes, good whiskey. Okay, the Triangle in California grows some of the best weed in the world. Although I'm in the foothills up here, we grow some pretty good stuff up here ourselves. There will be production areas, consumption areas. It'll move across the states. And so one of the arguments in this article was about New York. They want to grow indoor facilities for jobs and tax money. Really? Well, if you have to turn the light on to grow a plant, at some point, the cost of turning the light on, you can't compete with places where they don't have to turn lights on. They grow it naturally, have a good environment. No one wants to talk about all this indoor cultivation right now. It's not sustainable. If you can buy outdoor grown weed that's not ratchet, the California prime stuff, the stuff that growers keep themselves now goes out in the market, indoor cultivation will not be economic for the large market. It's just not going to be there. So as I read this, it's just a continuation of people thinking they know what they're talking about. You know, oh, I'm smart. Let me give you my opinion. Well, your opinion. I don't think any of these people know what the fuck they're talking about because they've got blinders on. We're looking at what are my choices, deschedule versus reschedule. Right now, it's descheduled in the black market because nobody gives a shit what the federal state government cares or talks about. They move it across state lines every day. Let's move it into consumption areas every day. Okay? It's coming out of production areas like California, Oklahoma's got it out there, places where it grows and it's grown cheap. That's where the future is going to be. And my argument is at some point, this needs to be looked at like alcohol. Public understands right now cannabis is safer than alcohol. We don't have to beat that drum anymore. They get it. So if we follow along those lines and the feds are going to take a little piece of excise tax. It's the way alcohol works. There will be distributors who move across the country, and then you'll have retail places where you can get it. No one will be talking about Delta 8. If you can get Delta 9 at a cheap price, who's going to want Delta 8 or Delta 10? You know, it's not going to be marketable when we get to that point where everyone can go to some sort of a store whenever they want and pick it up when they're out shopping, you know, for whatever. You're going for pork chops, you can pick up an 8 there or something like that. That's the future. I don't know when it's going to be. But right now, I don't see the Trump administration doing a lot about this because there's no need to. I mean, the people that are making money are not the legal industry. And they don't want that to change. And we just talked about how government has its head 4 feet up its ass. They don't want to take a look at what's going on around the country and look at this logically and try to find a solution that addresses the problem. No. Make it illegal, or we'll try to ignore it. Let's go after Delta 8 or Delta 10. No, those are problems today. We need to get beyond this point and treat this more like the intoxicant that it is. And feel like alcohol. Just get the fuck out of the way. That's my guys. Let me know what you think.
Oh boy.
Go for it, Jenny.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Ladies
So
first.
and
Ladies
foremost,
first.
As always, I wholeheartedly agree with Dale, which is why we get along. And also because he's right and I'm always right, so that's how that works out. That's brilliant minds. Yeah, a full deschedule is the only thing that solves all these problems. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't want fucking Delta 8. Like, I promise you don't. Like, you don't. It's ridiculous. We can say it over and over again. We keep reading these same stories with the same fucking points. I just wish that all of these cannabis writers would go ahead and just say, hey, I'm going to write about this today. Why don't you not write about it for like 3 weeks, unless there's some new information? Because like we're beating the same fucking drum, and deschedule is the only reasonable option that would solve all these problems. But that's not going to fucking happen anytime soon, and you're retarded if you think it is.
Yeah, I'm all for full descheduling. I agree with you. That's the only solution to all this. Rico, you're on mute, buddy. There you go.
I was saying, love how you just have to throw in an R word there, Jenny Beth, huh? But
let's remember that words have meanings, and let's look at the dictionary definition, and that's what I meant. We're not talking about special needs people. We're talking about people who are willingly retarding their growth process and deciding to look at this in a way that is absolutely asinine.
No,
it's absolutely retarded.
Let's keep it a buck.
How about that? How about it's absolutely retarded?
Either way, I think we all do.
Right.
We all do agree on descheduling as the best possible way forward as we are right now.
And shout out to
I do agree. I agree with you, Jenny Beth. It ain't gonna happen anytime soon.
Shout out to Liberal Tears. You can use the link in our bio to you know what I'm saying, to order you some and get you some sent straight to your door. No sugar, no anything, just Patriot Peach directly to your door. Where there they go. They're back.
In
chat, like the suggestion. I mean, I think we all understand that it is. Wait, are we going to commercial? Because
No. Go ahead, Shaun.
They were saying all you have to do is raise the limit on the hemp bill. Like, it's really so simple. It's so we know that they know that it is that simple. And then you could look at it like a nutraceutical. I get wanting to regulate when people are consuming for intoxicant purposes, regulating it with alcohol, but I also hesitate because so many alcoholics are relying on cannabis or hemp to deal with, to not be alcoholic, to deal with addiction. So, and we want to send them, like we're having this argument in Texas, they want to send those folks into Specs, a liquor store, and that's the only place where you can buy a cannabis beverage or a hemp beverage. Then the other thing about Delta 8, I get it. I love whole plant. I don't like synthetics for myself. I have an autoimmune condition. Whole plant is where I want to go. I love craft boutique grows, and I think that's what people should be allowed to do, is have local grows that produce really good product that you can buy from, or interstate commerce should be unleashed, and the best of the best should win. I don't care what fucking state they come from, just be good. All that said, is Delta 8 for some, I did notice when back in the bud tending days, that for some Delta 8, they can't handle the full spectrum, or they can't do only THC. And I think one of the limitations of the way that things unfolded before in the early 2000s and 2010s is that the focus was so much on THC, we ignored the whole rest of the plant. And there's so much more there that we could have explored if it wasn't just for that. And we'll get into this. My article talks about high potency and all that stuff. But I hear what, like, Dale, this article, well developed, it sounds like, and I'm excited to dive into it, but also recognize, like, we've got to unchain it. It would be very simple to unchain it. They don't want to do that because, as you know, our friend in the chat said, it's as simple as just raising the THC level from the hemp bill. That's it. But we're not having that conversation. We're distracted with reschedule or deschedule, and we know that they have an intention to do something completely else, and we're just not aware of it. Like, we got to start figuring out new pathways, because our old arguments, they're not working.
Fair.
This is my 2 cents.
Fair enough. And on that, we are going to roll right into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back. And we are back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com. And if you are in the New York regulated market and are in need of concentrates, why don't you reach out to me, because I can help your ass out.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Yes, Rico. We are back.
Yes, we are, Jason. And
Yes.
Up next is the founder of Kind Cannabis Consulting and Justice Serve 501c3, and a woman that loves pissing folks off just for the sport of it. Jenny Beth Dills. What do you have?
But I only play sports I'm good at, so you know. We're gonna talk-
Oh man, that's pretty good. That is pretty good, Jenny. That is pretty good.
We're on brand. We're on brand. Yeah, I'm kind, I'm not nice. There's a difference. But anyway, so let's talk about Germany because, there's some things that are going on over there. Germany's push to reverse cannabis legalization is hitting a wall of political compromise. During the federal election, the Christian Democrats, led by Bavaria's Markus Söder, promised voters they would recriminalize cannabis and dismantle last year's partial legalization. But now, as the CDU, CSU, and SPD coalition prepares to govern, that tough talk has stalled. The new coalition agreement doesn't scrap the cannabis law as promised. Instead, leaders have agreed to an open-ended evaluation this fall, delaying any decision on reversing legalization. While this pause gives Germany's legal cannabis market room to grow and public acceptance time to build, it's a disappointment for those hoping the era of cannabis prohibition was over for good. Adding to concerns, the CDU will now control the Federal Ministry of Health, replacing Karl Lauterbach, the architect of legalization, with a more conservative leadership. For now, cannabis remains legal in Germany, but uncertainty looms. The threat of renewed restrictions or even a full ban still hangs over consumers and businesses alike. So this is still a win because they have not outright banned it, right? So we still have an option. I'm still speaking to the people that I'm working with over there. They're still pushing full steam ahead, still doing a very large fundraise. Their evaluation, which is actually not inflated, is still hanging tough in there. They have pivoted to adding medical as well. So I think that that's an important step, and I think that that's a very good business decision, just in case the hell freezes over and we end up putting the toothpaste back in the tube. If anyone can do it, the German authorities can. But I think that this is an interesting step. I think that the willingness to be able to take a let's wait and see instead of just going ahead and freaking out, throwing the hammer down and saying no more is a positive step for the conservative side of the government. So I'll throw it back to you guys. I'll probably have some more to say later, but just rooting for my friends in Germany.
Yeah, this was to be expected as they were gaining steam. Yeah, kind of is what it is. It's the pendulum swinging the other way. But I agree with you, Jenny Beth. It's not a complete loss.
No, and Germany is a very large marketplace overall, and from what I heard, they had a bigger 420 celebration in Germany than they did even in New York.
Yeah, I want to see Europe thrive. I want to see different areas of cultivation get a chance to really kick ass, because the plant in different soil types, if we can get to Dale's point earlier, not everything indoor and the same and continuous. I get it if you want to have
Dale's wrong about that part.
If you want to have large scale mass operations, I get it. You need to have something that with continuity. But I do think European partners are offering, there's just more. There's more regional cannabis, could be a thing. Germany, of course, I was born abroad. I'm a citizen born abroad because of SOFA laws. I was born in Germany, and the countryside out there, I just want to see what they can produce. I just want to give everybody a chance to see what everyone can produce. And it's sad and disheartening when we have so much optimism for a new market and global markets and more opportunity to see them kind of fall into some of the same patterns that we have over here in the States. So I'm gonna just put out positive energy for everything to go well in Europe, because I wouldn't wish the shit show that we have in the US on anybody. But let's just see if we can protect Latin America and Europe and see where they come, how far they can go.
So I chaired a conference in Frankfurt last year. Amazing time, amazing people. And during kind of some of the intermission times, we were definitely smoking. And you know what I was handed, Jason Beck?
What's that?
Alien Labs.
Yep.
Literal Alien Labs with the California compliance sticker on it.
I'm not surprised.
So, yeah. I mean, Germany loves California genetics like everybody else, and they love California products. And California has, whether we like it or not, kind of become the poster child for cannabis legalization. And that's in a commercialized sense. We make this hype, we make it cool, we whatever. Now the downfall to that is the medical side over there is pushing that we've gone too far. That there shouldn't be wrappers, that there shouldn't be, they were using high times as a bad example. They were using a lot of those things. So I think it's more about educating that cannabis doesn't just have to, look like this and come from CVS, So we'll throw that out there, but I think, yeah. No.
I think it's interesting that California product continues to go into Europe, even though it's supposed to be illegal to do that, you know? It sort of makes my point that the market is doing what the hell it wants to do, and you can't enforce these prohibitions against import and export. You just can't do it. There's too much commerce going around the world right now. And at some point, you would hope they would take a chill. Maybe they need to smoke a little alien lab, eat some pizza, you know, close the doors and say, can we talk turkey here? Let's get all the political bullshit to go away. Can we talk honestly about what the market is doing? How do we control it to the point we would like to be able to get taxes, make sure it's tested. We don't have bad products out there, blah, 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 blah. But how do we do that and meet the consumer where they are? That's what politics has been doing for so long here in the United States, is they're trying to dictate to people what they should do rather than asking the people what the hell they want.
Yeah, I'm with you. And shout out to Brian Dombrowski in the chat who says California has become the poster child of what not to do. Focus on growing good weed and not regulating it. And shout out to the good people over at Tested.
Yes, and yes, what Dale said, and we have to protect on the lowest level, like the smaller craft folks. Like we got to protect.
Why do we need to protect them? They should be able to do just fine.
No. We can talk about it later.
Okay.
But why would you not want to protect your craft?
Jason represents big distillate. Come on now, big distillate energy.
Big disty tanks, baby.
Why would you care about the little guy?
It's an agriculture crop, and you should have the right to grow safe agriculture products.
I totally agree with that. I just don't understand why we're making a protected class.
In a market that is competitive, you have the right to operate, and you have the ability to fail like everyone else. You sink or swim. And, I think I appreciate, I've got some very good friends who are craft farmers, and they're scrappy, and they figured out ways to stay in their lane, to play in their lane, and whether they do tiny small batches that are only in a couple select dispensaries, or they do, whatever their model is, they found a way to be scrappy. It doesn't mean that they're going to be able to go up and compete with Connected or compete with the Cookies. It just means that maybe they can keep the lights on, but maybe not. And that's sometimes, unfortunately, what happens in business. Jason also does little hot dog water. He doesn't just do big hot dog water. He does little hot dog water.
Little Vienna sausage water.
Yeah. Shaun, I think you turned your camera off. You need to turn your camera back on.
Not everybody. Oh, I'm sorry. The computer was dying. Not everybody wants to be Alien Labs or Connected. No diss to them. They're great, but you can have successful mom and pops. And I'm not saying we have to create legislation to exclusively protect them. I'm saying you have to protect the right to be able to do it. Because if you lose that in your negotiations for your large scale operations, then you have just handcuffed yourself to the very thing that will probably be the shortfall of you and hand everybody over to pharmaceutical alcohol and everything that is not the cannabis industry. So I'm not
familiar with Germany's regulatory structure.
I'm speaking in generalities right now as yes. And why are you asking? Or I thought we were just
because the story's about Germany. So in Germany, that argument actually doesn't make any sense because Germany's a full vertical. So basically, you set your club up. You have your set number. They can have up to 500 members per club. Those members, it kind of almost works cooperatively with the ownership and the members, where they cultivate the cannabis for those members. So this is absolutely.
Why would exclude small operators from being able to to come together and be vertical in a same fashion?
Germany's not allowing for that. Germany.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't. It's
it doesn't.
The most cooperative model. It's literally the most cooperative model. It's literally the most.
I don't understand. Why is that a counter to what I'm saying then? How did I say?
Listen.
Did
talk and then I'll talk when you stop.
All right. Hold on. You know what? We got to go to our next commercial, and we are going to come right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Direct your attention to Mariana Cannabis, who are the guys that I work with. I'm doing a big funding round with.
And we are back, you guys. We are back. Rico, do you want to introduce Shaun before you leave, or would you like me to?
Yeah, Jason, you got to tell me things ahead of time.
I'm sorry, bro. There's so much going on in the background, so I apologize. I apologize today.
She's a military vet, professional mediator, and arbitrator. And when people want to solve their problems and avoid lawyers, they can head on down to where? To ATX, where our next correspondent is from, Shaun Salvaje. What you got?
Yeah. Yes. Well, I have an article on the overall state of cannabis here today. Today's weed, it's from Slate. Today's weed is incredibly strong, but that's not what you should be worried about. Politicians are fear-mongering about marijuana potency, and they're about to make things worse. Getting too stoned has always been and always will be an absolutely awful feeling. You reach that tipping point. That's for someone who can get too stoned. I'm not one of those people. This is from the writer. You reach that tipping point where high turns from mellow to paranoid, and all of a sudden you're stumbling uncontrollably down a rabbit hole of terrifying thoughts, which all lead to the conclusion that the world is ending. Nobody likes how it feels. Ever since recreational cannabis has become legal, the risks of overconsuming have raised debates about potency. Remember Maureen Dowd's 2014 hotel room freakout? And we have, recently we've in Texas had legislators poll some cases where they're saying kids are shooting their parents after consuming products. So it's still a relevant conversation, doesn't just date back to 2014. Earlier this year, the New York Times blasted the cannabis industry for fighting bills that limit potency. Such laws have been proposed around the country, including New York, Colorado, where it only applies to people under 25, in Florida, and it would put caps on THC flower potency between 0.3% and 15%. Commercially available cannabis usually contains at least 20% THC. The problem is that lawmakers and the media alike deeply misunderstand how cannabis potency actually works. Peter Greenspoon, a physician, Harvard Medical School instructor, and author of Seeing Through the Smoke on Medical Cannabis, told Slate that limits on the simple percentage of THC in cannabis products could actually hurt medical patients for a number of reasons. People adjust their doses based on the strength of a product. So if they're smoking a product that's half as strong, for example, they might end up smoking twice as much, doing further damage to their lungs. Studies have shown that consumers will naturally use less when the product is stronger. When I was growing up, one of the arguments against cannabis was that it was so weak you had to smoke so much and it was bad for your lungs, Greenspoon said. Now it's stronger, and the argument is it's so dangerous because it's so potent. We're going to keep going down because I know you guys know more about potency than probably the writer of Slate. They continue, one of the scientists tells Slate, the director of cultivation at Loudbird Cannabis in Boulder, Colorado, tells Slate they have no idea how the science actually works. And then Slate reports what lawmakers misunderstand is that THCA, which is often present in higher quantities than Delta-9 THC and which does not influence legal potency levels per the Farm Bill, can convert when decarboxylated to Delta-9 THC. That's not news to all of us. But the percentages listed on product labels and menus don't tell the whole truth. THC potency is determined through mandatory lab testing. And labs, we know, have been, fraudulently submitting results, which can have dramatically different results. Also, I've spoken with a few cultivators. Even when you get the same batches tested, you can get a wide variability of results even with the same batch. So this is for cultivators who are looking to test their terpenes to try to create some kind of uniformity in their grows, or to see how their breeding process is creating uniformity. And one grower told me that he noticed that test results and actual efficacy of the plant often had no correlation, and that he would, if someone was chasing a certain percentage of terps or cannabinoids, would of course grow to meet that requirement for the client. But when he was pheno hunting or hunting for genetics that would produce the highest quality flower, he was not relying on the test results because he said they were inconclusive at best. So it's a long article and it goes further, but I think this is an interesting conversation, you know, for the larger picture, which is there's so much that we don't understand about this plant, and we're trying to create regulations and successful, sustainable businesses around it. But we still haven't really dove into the investment in the research and development and science of it all. Question for the team is, like, what do you think? How do you think the focus on THC has actually held us back? And then what do you think is next for reframing how we're looking at this? Because the current framework isn't working for anybody. That's all.
Well, I'll say this. I think the whole testing thing is a total sham. I think testing should only be in regards with like pesticides and things that actually can hurt you and whatnot. And as far as any potency testing, it's all bullshit. All of it, every which way, upside down, left, right, up, down, every way is all total bullshit. And you can make anything, any number for whatever you want to.
What about Jason?
What's that?
What about diagonal?
Diagonal too. Yes. Diagonal, both northeast, southwest. You know, all of that.
It's up a rope.
Stock the Cartesian coordinates, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is a continuation of this nonsense that they want to compare alcohol and cannabis. Because in the alcohol industry, if it's not distilled, and it can only get to a certain level. I mean, you get to about 15% and you're basically done. If you distill it, it comes out of the still at 151%. Okay? So that's where they decided they're going to draw the line with alcohol, because 151 will kick your ass. But when I was in the military, we'd go down to the pharmacy with a prescription for pharmaceutical alcohol, dump that into some grape juice, and holy shit, 200% alcohol will kill you. Okay, so there's a reason why they keep that away from the public. In cannabis, it's nonsense. It should serve as just an educational point. And flour, I don't think you can get naturally above about 30% flour, or you're just lying through your teeth.
Exactly.
And if you take natural hash, you know, if you take the hash off and concentrate it, you're not going to get to 90 or 100%. It doesn't.
Never, bro.
There.
Exactly. It's total bullshit.
I need a paper so I can give you a visual aid.
Oh, look at this.
You have to do something synthetic to that to get it well above that level. And they're trying to compare to alcohol, and it's apples and oranges. Because I don't care how much THC is in there, can't kill yourself.
You know the best way. To test your cannabis.
Proof alcohol, it'll kill you.
You know the best way to test your cannabis, Dale, is with like a BHO extraction or a solventless extraction, and whatever is your results of how much hash you pull from that extraction is really the true percentage of whatever your flour is. That's it.
They're taking you to a lab to get a number, okay? And the number really doesn't matter, because at 10 to 15% THC with a rich terpene profile, you can get a very good result, and especially a good medical result. So it all depends on what you want. If you just want high THC, you can get that right now. And I know, Jason, you like to market the high THC levels.
People buy it.
Well, I know they do, because that's what's being marketed right now.
Yeah, I know. I think it's ridiculous, though. I think it's the most it's the most irresponsible thing the cannabis industry does overall is allow for the proliferation of idiocracy.
Yeah, we should be investing in educating our consumers, and we can develop more niche products and more specialized products.
All this tax dollars, Shaun, all these tax dollars that all these municipalities do, they need to be investing in public education campaigns for the general public to convey this as a thing, because the reality is the cannabis industry doesn't have the manpower or the wherewithal to be able to do it. Not to mention there's too many different voices that are going to speak that they're going to speak and are going to cloud up all the messaging. So that's never going to work as far as the industry going to do it, because the industry couldn't speak from a unified voice if its life depended on it.
Jason, I'm so surprised to hear that from you, because you believe so much in private business and private investment and not, investing tax dollars into public programming.
I'm saying they need to do something smart with the tax revenue that they're already generating from, and that would be a much better sense of resources than putting it in the general fund.
I think it's on, if we can complain about how they're going to spend the tax revenue, but we're not going to solve that quickly. What operators can solve quickly is how they educate their consumers, and part of their marketing plan should be educating their consumers to understand their product, the nuances of the product and the plant, so that way they can make informed decisions. And that also builds a brand loyalty, unlike anything else.
They can't do that, though.
High-potency products, at a certain point, you burn your system out, so they're just burning out their
They can't do that, Shaun. Let me tell you something. If they could
burn out their consumer,
if they could do that, Shaun, they would have already done that a million years ago. At the beginning of legalization in all of these states, they would have done that. But they are totally incapable of doing that. Okay, it's impossible for them to do that. It will never happen. It's a pipe dream. Literally, maybe like a little glass pipe dream.
Glass pipe. Okay, you want to see my drawing, Jason?
Let's see your art, little scribble scrabble, Jenny Beth.
This is a fucking trichome, okay? There's liquid in here.
Hold on, you're frozen. Discord froze for some reason. I don't know. Hold on a second.
Because I was about to drop some motherfucking bombs in this bitch.
Hold on a second. Just relax a second. It'll unfreeze in a second. And while we're waiting for Discord to unfreeze, Brian Dombrowski did throw an interesting thing. He says, the farm bill is the fix for all of this. Get on the same page and push for 1% D9, and this noise all goes away. All right, Jenny Beth, we're unfrozen. Go ahead. Let's see your little.
I tried to.
Yep.
So there's liquid in here, for lack of better terms. There's THC in that.
It's moisture.
There's other shit in that.
Is that why you did it like a drop?
Yeah,
because it's moist.
Yes, it's shaped. But there's other shit in there. Okay. Then you zoom out to the whole plant, which we are testing whole plant fucking material. They're not just saying, "Hey, let me test your trichome." And there's a lot of other things.
That's a great T-shirt.
It's not possible to have that much fucking THC. If the THC contained in that plant is in these trichomes, and there's other fucking material that make up whatever cannabis you're fucking about to smoke, your test results are not fucking possible. So if you're out there listening, I'm trying to just break this down and simplify it. There's other shit in there. So there's no fucking way.
That's right. You have anything you want to add on that, Dale?
Oh, I'm right there with Jenny Beth. I think it's all nonsense. I mean, I'm from an era where, the average Mexican weed was 3 to 5% THC, and we just smoked the whole joint by ourselves.
This is the whole thing. Yeah, Dale, there was more harmful compounds in Bammer weed back then than there ever is going to be lead or any of these other things that are in green weed now, and everyone's just all of this is contaminated, da 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 da, and all of a sudden, and like if you smoke brown weed, you probably have like one of the most amazing immune systems and probably never get sick.
I remember separating the stems and seeds out.
Yep. We used to call it the lumber yard, Dale. The lumber yard.
Yep.
I fucking love you, Vermont Alternative. You troll ass motherfucker. You're hilarious. I only smoke 45% stevia strands.
Oh, man. Brian says, I thought a trichome was shaped like a mushroom. They are shaped like mushrooms, Brian. That is true.
Fine. Today it's shaped like a teardrop because I can't draw, so.
Jenny wanted to draw like a little teardrop to represent the moisture content in the THC molecule.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's my point.
All right, fair enough.
It's not a soluble molecule.
Yes, I'm going to roll into my final story so we can wrap today's episode up, you guys. Today, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for covering that, Shaun. That was a good discussion. An appellate court finds the San Marcos voter-approved marijuana ordinance unlawful. I can't wait to hear what Shaun and Dale both have to say about this, man. This is, oh boy, here we go. An appellate court last Thursday issued an opinion siding with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, stating that San Marcos marijuana decriminalization ordinance violates state law. In 2022, over 80% of San Marcos voters approved a proposition that ended low-level marijuana enforcement in the city. In 2024, Paxton sued San Marcos and other cities, including Austin and Killeen, over marijuana decriminalization ordinances passed around the same time or shortly after San Marcos. In a quote, the Texas Local Government Code prohibits the governing body of a municipality, municipal police department, municipal attorney, county attorney, district attorney, or criminal district attorney from adopting a policy under which the entity will not fully enforce laws regulating to drugs. The opinion filed in the 15th Court of Appeals read in a quote, San Marcos, however, has passed a local ordinance prohibiting its police officers from issuing citations and making arrests for certain low-level marijuana offenses, it continued. A Hays County District Court judge dismissed the lawsuit in July of 2024, but is now likely to go to trial. In a statement to KXAN, the city of San Marcos confirmed it cannot enforce the marijuana ordinance pending a trial on the merits, it says. The San Marcos City Council is expected to meet in an upcoming executive session to receive legal advice and provide direction for moving forward, the statement continued. And San Marcos attorney David Sergey, and that's an attorney that I know out there in the great state of Texas, who happens to be a pretty smart on these cannabis terms and whatnot, cannabis laws, said he believes there will be an increase in citations in the wake of this opinion. In a quote, he says, I believe you'll see a ramp up in raids and that you will see a ramp up in enforcement efforts, said Sergey, an expert in Texas marijuana and hemp laws. Sergey said he is concerned with the opinion could undermine the voice of the voter, and in a quote says, people are actually speaking. They're going to the ballot box. They're doing the things you do in a democracy, and this opinion is basically going to invalidate that. It's going to invalidate the voice of the people, Sergey continued. And I'm willing to say that this is one of those wokey judges that's similar to the ones that are trying to stop Trump from doing his job, but I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. I knew that was going to get a head nod out of you, Dale.
Yeah, what I can tell you is that they have a problem here because I mean, it may be against Texas law to allow these local jurisdictions to do this, but if the cops don't issue citations, then they win.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Dale. Why isn't it not against Texas law to implement the will of the voters? That should be an ultimate law.
Well, because and this goes back to the 1870s where they started giving local control under state constitutions, okay? And how much local control Texas gives, it sounds like it's somewhat limited here. Okay? And in California, if we have a general law, no local jurisdiction can change it, okay? And that's pretty solid here in California. But what we found out here back in the Lundgren era is that we just told them, yeah, go fuck yourself. We're not going to enforce your law. So now what are you going to do? And they couldn't do shit because the Bay Area just said, we're not going to enforce the law. We're not going to arrest anybody. You know, you guys can come here. Dan Lundgren tried to do this, and what happened? He lost his ass and got thrown out of office. And we move forward because de facto, people don't want to be fucked with over smoking a joint somewhere. Okay? That's just it. So if the cops are going to continue to do this, they're going to put people in positions like police chiefs and tell them, stop this. Maybe we can't pass an ordinance, but my instructions to you as a police chief is stop giving people citations for smoking a joint. Just stop it. Now they win.
So Texas, it's funny. This one hurts because on a few levels. How did Texas come to be? Mexico gave some land grants to some settlers, and the settlers wanted to self-rule. I'll keep it at that because it's a very hot topic. It might, it had something to do with slavery sometimes. Some of them, not all. But a good share of the settlers didn't want to change some laws. And also there was a cannon, come and take it. That comes from Texas. This whole battle of Mexico said, fine, you don't want to listen to our laws. We're going to take the weapons away and you're going to have to deal with hostiles on your own. This is how the Republic of Texas was born, is by local rule. And this is usually how Texans are. We want to rule on the lowest level possible. We don't like overregulation. We can still like social causes and give to those. I mean, there are a lot of church-going folks in Texas. But we don't have a voter ballot initiative across the state of Texas. This is what we have. Mm-hmm. This is the only thing we have. And so this is happening a little bit because of cannabis, because every city decriminalized in this way. And this was the way that we were taking this path. And then the tragedy is that while it's happening in retaliation to cannabis, the implications are far more reaching. And that's what makes it so grave. So, and probably introduces a bit more of my skepticism and also desire to hang on hope in a Lone Star State. But this, basically, if this passes, and I don't know, like, Texas is in a really weird space right now where our Speaker of the House, there's controversy there. There's controversy with Governor Abbott has been calling people into his office, apparently. And it's been said by the House Democrats that he's calling folks into his office and he's saying, if you don't do this, he's making his conditions known. About what legislation needs to pass. And that goes from the school voucher bill all the way possibly to SB3. I've been thinking about it a lot this morning, especially with this news. So the thing about if this happens to San Marcos, it sets a precedent for them to flip all of the other cities, including Austin. So we could have the state of Texas go all the way backwards. So it becomes a really important conversation or fight because it's bigger than cannabis. Mm-hmm. Like it's. So
I think this needs to go up to the, ultimately if this decision is repealed. I think it needs to go up to the Supreme Court. Ultimately, if they try to repeal it, because ultimately it should be the will of the voters in the area. They get to dictate the laws, and I would encourage all the activists out there in San Marcos, especially, to really just start a whole campaign outside of the courthouses in San Marcos and educate the general public about jury nullification, because that'll piss them off more than anything.
This is that these efforts with cannabis got people who previously were disenfranchised voters. So here's another big part of the story is I've had conversations with various people who've worked on the ground game Texas stuff. And I think you guys have a correspondent who comes on and can speak to this. But it got people who had been so pushed away in the state of Texas from voting and participating in the system at all, people who are often not represented by the interests of our representatives in the House and the Senate. It got them out to vote. And now we're having a lot of issues with like, oh, now you need this much ID. You need like, also these arrests, by the way, if they happen, it lets you enforce at will. So if you're enforcing at will and you're an officer with a grudge, then you get to decide who gets justice and who doesn't. Like it's huge. It's big. It's bigger than just weed. It's bigger than it's people's like right to live from my perspective. So I have a lot of like, holy shit. I'm not excited about the next few weeks. But we're still in this. We'll see what happens.
We shall see. What do you got? Anything you want to throw in on this, Jenny?
No, I need to go operate a cannabis company, so I got to get out of here soon. But I love you guys, and I will always hang tough to the end because we have amazing fans, and I'm happy to be here.
I love this. You get any final words on this deal?
Now, this is democracy at its basic level, and it's just hard to watch when voters can't get the will of the voters to be recognized and carried out.
Facts. I totally agree with you, and I support all the people that turned out to the polls in San Marcos, and hopefully, ultimately, this gets alleviated. And I'm with you guys all the way, all day on this. And High at 9 News is as well. The will of the voters must be upheld. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Aim High Hemp Distribution, Tested, and Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here. Thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing, and thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. Thank you to Cloud Media Partners Anthony out there in the metaverse, and thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show. And we're off.